Alrighty, well here we are with Hot Toys Thor Love and Thunder Deluxe. The box for this one is actually interesting because it's a different width and height from any other Hot Toys box I've ever gotten. The recent Scarlet Witch one was actually really shiny, but this one's just shiny all over the place. But I think that encapsulates that movie. It's a very shiny, bright, colorful movie. Here's a nice full shot of Point Break himself, Thor. And there are elements of this that I'll get into, but this is quite the figure. It does have a very large shelf presence, and in my mind, I've seen all the Thor figures. I think this is the best head sculpts they've ever made, and also the best cape, because it's a wired cape. But when you put this on your shelf, this is definitely going to stand out, because a lot of superheroes these days aren't as colorful as this one.
What's in the box?
On the listing for this figure, it says that these are a pair of open hands and a pair of relaxed hands. I'm not too sure which one of these are the open and relaxed. I guess you tell me. But that's what they are. Then you get a pair of hands that hold the axe. You could put it in either hand. I've seen some people display it with him holding the axe with both hands around the waist or up above the shoulder, so that's cool. And then you get, standard for every Hot Toy, you get 2 fists. I did want to draw some brief attention to these hands because the paintwork is fantastic on them. Here is Zeus's lightning bolt, which is pretty much a must-have. You can pull this apart into 2 pieces, and you could also remove the lightning if you want. Here's a look at it with the lightning bolt pulled apart. And it's kind of a really nice color. It's just like really deep gold. Here's the axe, which is amazing. It is so much bigger than the Infinity War axe and much heavier. And it also lights up, which is pretty cool. Here's a comparison of the two. Look at that. It's like an inch and a half longer. It is ridiculous. Be sure to use the ball joint for the wrist that doesn't move. They have a specific ball joint in there for the axe. And then here are the gold arms, which are amazing. They look so freaking cool. I love this gold color. And here we have the lightning bolts. I'm not going to go over these one by one, but I'll show you a picture of all of them attached. It's a lot. And then here's the separate chest piece that you could put on. One has silver in the center, the other blue. Here's the typical Hot Toys hexagonal stand. It's nice, doesn't take up too much real estate. It also has the peg on it where you can clamp onto Thor in the air so it looks like he's flying. Here's Thor with his battery-powered axe and battery-powered head sculpt. I think it looks really cool. I'm not really one for the battery-powered options in figures. I never use them. But this is one that I really like. It's actually easy to turn the axe on and off. There's a little button on the top. And here he is with the electricity all over him. I think it's a little too busy, to be honest with you. It's just a lot of colors already going on. Then you add all this electricity. The axe might be the only thing that I would do it on, but even with that said, the axe looks cool already without any electricity on it. You know, I might put like 1 or 2 pieces of the electricity, but not all of it, just to, you know, keep the look of the axe. Otherwise you lose it in all this blue plastic. The paint application on this figure is phenomenal. You can see the color changes between his forehead and under his eyes and his cheekbone area, the lines on his forehead, under his eyes, and the 5 o'clock shadow. It all comes together perfectly, and I think it looks just like Chris Hemsworth. Then you go to the sculpted hair with the vagrant strands hanging on the sides of the head and on the back, and altogether, this might be the best piece of sculpted hair that I've seen on a Hot Toys figure. You could argue that the recent Scarlet Witch Multiverse of Madness is the best, but I really like this one. And then you get the helmet. The helmeted Thor is the most gaudy, over-the-top, ridiculous helmet that you could put on a figure, but I really love it in a weird way, just because it's like, it just goes all the way. It's just like, alright, we're just gonna go a little crazy here, and we're just gonna give you the craziest Thor helmet that you could possibly have. And if we ever get a Thor again in the future, you know it's not going to be crazy like this. So this is going to be the last, like, over-the-top Thor that we get. What can I say? It's the best part of the figure. I love it. It looks just like Chris Hemsworth. It's the best Hot Toys Chris Hemsworth 1/6 scale head sculpt I've ever seen. The paint application is phenomenal. The only thing that's missing is rolling eyes. If they gave it rolling eyes, it would have bumped the score up on this figure so much. And then you get this crazy Thor helmeted version, which, just like I said, it's fantastic. It's just a bunch of crazy. These arm sculpts are amazing. They're made out of silicone. I think this is the first time I've ever seen a Hot Toy with that. Maybe the King Leonidas had that, but look at the muscles. You could squeeze it. It has like push and give in it. It's so awesome, and it looks really good on the figure. Great paint application too. Pardon my French, but the electronics on this figure are a fucking nightmare. The axe is fine, you just gotta put a couple batteries in there, and the eyes aren't that bad, but it's kind of hard to get the batteries in there because it's like deep in the head sculpt. You need a really small screwdriver. But I burnt out the lights on the chest, which I can't show you because the maximum voltage is 5 volts, and I don't have anything in my house that's 5 volts. So not only do you need a USB-C attachment, but you also need to make sure you have something that's 5 volts or less. So I really hate the materials on this figure. He has pleather pants, which all the other Thor figures have leather. That little waist area, it's like these little really thin pieces of foam that build that up, and it feels like they could pop off at any second. I'll show you a picture soon. And the electricity that you put all over his body, all those feel like they could break at any second, which makes her a very stressful figure to try to pose. So that is tops on my list for most annoying figure ever to put together and try to pose. And here is the waist area that did pop off on me, and I barely did any movement. I'm really torn when it comes to this figure, so let's get into the things I don't like. The pleather pants. Why are they pleather this time? The waist armor, made out of that foam material that popped off on me. I really am agitated about that. I barely even moved his leg and it just popped off. And the hair on the shoulders pushes the head sculpt off, so you can't really move the head around that much. And then also the electronics and the electricity pieces. They're very fragile. The electronics are a nightmare. I just hate that stuff so much. It was the only figure review I've ever done that I did not enjoy doing. But the head sculpt is fantastic looking. The colors are amazing. It really stands out on the shelf. It has a great cape. It's a wired cape that's fantastic. And if you could find a way to pose it without it causing too many problems with the figure, then you're really going to love having this on your shelf, because we're never going to get a Thor like this again, I think. What's my final score? 7.0 Asgardian Ales out of 10.